What's going on, golf addicts? Welcome to the Tour Junkies golf show here on the Better Sports Network. And this week, it's not even mostly golf. It's actually mostly NFL because, God dang it, the NFL is right around the corner. And, we're golf junkies for sure, but we are also NFL junkies. Pat's been playing fantasy football since you had to record everything down on a
Yeah,
legal pad.
you had to check the newspaper for
Yeah,
stats.
get the box scores, huh? So we've been
Mhm.
doing it a long time. We love the NFL. So we're going to have some NFL content on this show all season long. And this week we were pumped because our guest in the next segment is Alex Caruso. And if you don't know who he is, he's providing a ass ton of free content on Twitter, on his newsletters every week. It's unbelievable. And the kid's like 11 years old, and he's finding time to do this in the middle of his studies and his homework and his chores at home. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's amazing. So excited to have Alex on here in the next segment, but we are going to talk some golf here to start. Ryder Cup has been finalized, Patrick. The European Tour team has been sealed up after Ludwig Aberg gets the dub, the Omega Masters victory for Ludwig. Did you even know that he won the Omega Masters?
I did. I saw it earlier today, actually, and I was shocked because I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't realize he had won. But it's not going to be his first victory. We could probably safely say
True.
that. He seems to be a stud.
Yeah. At a certain point, you had Alex and Matt Fitzpatrick up on the leaderboard. Like, I don't have enough to talk about yet, but we should at some point we should talk about what Alex Fitzpatrick is doing. He's like taken an opportunity and all of a sudden turned into a player, like a really legit
Yeah.
dude.
I mean, he feels like he's about to be not as much a part of the conversation as Matt.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy is showing up. I mean, he played well at the Open Championship too.
Yeah.
So, he's making a name for himself.
But Ludwig gets it done. Adrian Meronk gets kind of the shaft. I think he was a 3-time winner on the DP World Tour this year, including winner at Marco Simone at the Italian Open, the host site of the Ryder Cup. He gets bumped, and Ludwig did what he had to do to make it pretty convincing. There's people who are upset about Morant getting left out. Sepp Straka was another selection. Fitzpatrick automatically qualified. Bobby Mack automatically qualified. I guess based off the world points. And then your other pick was Nikolai Højgaard, one of the Højgaard twins. Nikolai, not Rasmus. Shane Lowry, Justin Rose. That rounds out the European Tour team. And I mean, the Polish Giraffe, Adrian Meronk, I think makes a good case for taking him over somebody like Højgaard or Aberg. And I haven't heard anything on Captain Luke Donald's defense of not picking Meronk over those guys. But the only thing I can think is like Aberg and Nikolai are extremely young. I mean, like really young, like Alex Caruso young. And I don't think Meronk is old, but he might be a little bit older. And maybe he feels like Nikolai and Ludwig are just the future, and Meronk might be one of those guys who, he's kind of like the Jeff Overton, maybe. What if he's like Jeff Overton of Europe, where he's like he does well for a couple years and then he's out. He didn't play great on his PGA Tour or major starts this year. I think he had a couple that were decent, but for the most part, he wasn't very good there. But Nikolai and Ludwig have gone out and done some stuff.
Yeah, my first thought is exactly what you're saying. Is they're kind of the future here. They're going to play on a lot of Ryder Cup teams. Let's go ahead and get them the experience now. I don't think you're going to see a guy like Morant playing on a ton. Maybe he will. I don't know. Wasn't like Alex Noren on a team before? Like it kind of feels like a little bit of an Alex Noren. I don't know, but Abear is the future, and I do think the Højgaards both of them are extremely good too. And then you got to have like the experience of Rose and Lowry. I think I mean, it's just what you need on a European Ryder Cup team.
Listen, if you think Luke Donald wasn't going to pick his best buddy, old pal, mate Justin Rose after he won this year, like you talk about. I mean, for all that's been said of the good old boy system of the American side with Zach Johnson and having Scheffler picking Burns basically, and Zach Johnson having JT on the team, like Luke Donald picking Justin Rose was a 100% lock. Like those dudes they're like this. I have a fun game, Pat, that I just thought about. You know,
Okay.
right before the show started, we were talking to producer Tony about his hibachi experience last night. I love hibachi. I am a total redneck hibachi loving American. I know it's not Japanese food, but damn it, they make you feel like it really is. And I love it
Yeah.
all. I've seen it all. I love it all. Have you ever had the hibachi chef that's like a little bit dirty? He's kind of a little kinky, like he slaps the rice and he like makes noises or something. You ever had one of those?
Oh
Those are
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
There's a white guy from Jersey who is a lifer hibachi chef here at a local spot in Augusta we go to, and he calls himself Chef Boyardee. He's literally an Italian from Jersey, but he's like, it was my dream to be a hibachi chef, and he's been one for like 15 years. Anyway, the hibachi table is always fun, right? Because hey, producer Tony, are you hopping on?
Sorry, I had I don't know why that just happened.
Yeah, are you just dying?
You were so excited about hibachi.
Are you not? Well, Tony, hold on, sit in on this. So
Yeah,
the hibachi, I think we might have even talked about that this year. The hibachi dynamic, okay, especially if it's a couple of you. All right, so if it's you and your wife, or like one time earlier this year, I went with me and my son, and it was a Saturday night, and you're sitting there with like 8 people, and there's always just the dynamic. Do I wave at the people and smile? Do I make conversation? Do I act like they're not even there because maybe they don't want to be bothered? There's that whole dynamic. But if you could take, let's say it was you and a friend, you and your wife or whatever, or you and your son or whoever, 2 of you. There are no, forget that. There's just you. So there's 7 other spots at the hibachi table. Of the both Ryder Cup teams, who do you want at your table out of both the teams? Who would you love to have hibachi with out of both sides?
Well, it would start for me with Victor Hovland. I would want Victor Hovland at the table.
My starter is Terrell Hatton.
Okay, I could see that. I still feel like Victor would be a lot of fun.
Victor would be a blast. I would agree. He would be one of my 7. But like first, right off the bat, it's like, give me Terrell Hatton.
Yeah. Second,
hold on. Maybe we should make this a draft.
Oh wait,
should we make this a draft?
Yeah, let's. Yeah. Well,
Should we draft?
Yeah, let's draft.
All right, let's go. All right, it's Tony's turn then.
Okay, Tony.
Tony's up.
Sorry, you got the last pick. Yeah.
Okay. With my third pick, then I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Brooks Koepka, just to lighten the mood a little bit, just to chill out. Nothing's a little too serious, anything like that. I'll go Brooks, and then if we're going back around,
that was a reach, by the way. I think it got Brooks in the 6th, 5th, or 6th.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Look, I got to change the rule again. Because there's 3 of us. If we're picking 7 each, that's 21. We got to include the captains, and we got to include spouses and girlfriends.
Okay, all right.
So
we each get 7. I thought we were doing 7 total. We each get 7.
Yeah, we each pick our hibachi table.
Okay.
If we're going,
you're on the turn here.
We'll give you extra time because we changed rules in the middle of your pick.
All right, I'm gonna go. Okay, pick 4, round 2, pick 1. I'm gonna go. Oh man, I'm gonna go Shane Lowry just for the stories. Another reach-ish, but
no, it's not a reach. You stole him from me.
I can see Shane Lowry. I can see it.
Okay. I think I'm gonna break into the wife category, and I think Jenna Sims would be fun. She's had the baby and everything, so she's back. Like she can have a few cocktails. I'm gonna go with Jenna and put her on. Like I'm gonna have Brooks. Tony's got Brooks. I'm gonna have Jenna on the other side, so I get to sit between Brooks and Jenna. Is what's gonna happen, and we're just gonna talk back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're snaking a little bit of Brooks as you're talking to him.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of getting a little. I'm just using your draft pick a little bit.
I've got a female, but I think I can get her I think I can probably get her 2 or 3 rounds after. So I think I'm going to wait on one of the spouses. And I got 2 picks here, don't I? I'm going to take the lovable lad with cankles that we all know and love, Tommy Fleetwood. I want Tommy Ladd. Give me Tommy and Terrell. They're both going to tell. They're both buddies, so they're going to tell stories on each other at the table. So you get them talking, and you get a couple good stories out of these guys. So I think that.
High five them.
What's that?
Don't try to high five them.
Yeah, don't do that. So that would be fun. And then Pat's not going to like this, but I can't believe he let him fall. You got to.
No, you're not going to do it.
You got to take the Southern talking, bulldog walking, big ass MFer from Austria playing on the European side, Sepp Straka. How do you leave Sepp Straka, Pat? How do you leave? Did you think he was coming back to you?
I actually thought I could get him a little bit
Southern
later,
twang on the European team. He's got Dwayne Bach on the bag. Gets Sepp in there talking bulldog football against right there next to Terrell and Tommy Ladd. I love Sepp. I'm going Sepp.
Well, I'm going to go with one of my favorite golfers out there. Actually 2 Europeans are going to be on my team, and I'm going with Rory.
Lame.
Yeah.
That's lame.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, you're going serious with Rory. Again, I like to keep it light.
Yeah.
So I'm going Max Homa. I got Brooksy on one side. I got Homa.
Yeah, I don't mind
all
that.
the homosexuals on the other side. I'm just going to keep it completely light for my evening. And then circling back, who we want to grab here? I want to keep it light, but I'm a fellow short king. So I want somebody who I can just look eye to eye. So I'm going to take a dog. I'm going to take Brian Harmon, just so I can kind of look him. I can size him up a little bit. Somebody who, hey, fellow short guy out there winning the Open Championship, driving it past Rory, beating Rory on his home course. I'm gonna go Brian Harmon.
And that way you're not the only guy in a booster seat. Maybe.
My legs are swinging.
You guys can both be. No, I think Harmon's I actually think Harmon's a sleeper. I think he's a sleeper pick, and that was a good one. I could see him being interesting. A little cockbite.
Yeah. Man, I feel like I don't like how my draft's going. I don't really like how it's going.
Rory was a tough pick.
I feel like I need an American player though, and it's hard to figure out which direction to go here.
You know how in the draft you realize there's somebody on the board and you're gonna take him from your boy and it's gonna wreck him. I just thought of somebody.
Well, I don't think you're gonna take anybody from me. Man, but I just don't like it. I don't like what I'm seeing out of some of these folks. You know what? I'm gonna reach.
Okay.
I'm gonna reach, and I'm gonna take Ricky Fowler.
That's not a bad pick there. That's a good pick.
I think Fowler would be a good one there.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. God, I'm so excited about this. All right, and I'm gonna wait on the one that's gonna really piss Pat off. But I'm gonna go ahead and take my first lady here. This is a classy lady, unlike Jenna Sims. Okay, very classy, naturally beautiful, mother, very just regal. Honestly, regal.
Paulina.
No.
Yeah, Paulina just shows up and we get to
it. Diane Donald.
Okay, I get that.
Diane
I kind of
Donald,
get that.
I would take. I'd put over any of them. Diane Donald for me.
Okay.
Captain Luke Donald's wife. There with Terrell, Tommy Ladd, and Sepp.
Oh wait, now I started to think outside the box, and I'm already feeling like I know what you're gonna do. Which is really yes, it is going to piss me off.
I am so excited that my brain thought of this. I
can't believe where you could do this.
I am taking Pat's childhood hero.
No, you can't do
poster
that.
on the ceiling above. Poster on the ceiling above his bed. Big ass Ashworth shirts and pleated pants. Give me co-captain Freddie MF and Couples. Give him to me, Pat. How does that taste?
Makes me want to cry.
How does that taste, huh?
That does make me want to cry because I started, the wheels were turning when you said Diane Donald, and I'm thinking captain. I'm thinking, and then I was like, oh yeah, here it comes. Fine, Jeez, that takes me. Who are the other co-captains?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter because there's nobody else in there that. All right, I'll. You already took Fleetwood, didn't you? You already took Fleetwood. Shane Lowry's off the board.
This is like our Mount Rushmore draft situation.
I'll bring in Ricky's wife.
Oh, Allison.
I'll bring in Allison.
Strong pick.
Yeah.
Pole vaulter. Strong pick.
So I only have 2 more left.
Pat, here you go. You got Steve Stricker, DL3, Jim Furyk, and Stuart Sink are the other co-captains.
Doesn't matter. Freddie Couples is
Good
already
luck.
off the board.
What a group there. All right.
Who?
I would be leaving my table, going to DB's table all the time. My table would hate me because Pat kept leaving.
Red Rover, send Freddie right over.
Pat, good snipe there. I was going to take Allison next. I was going to go with your theory of taking half of Ricky as well, sitting in between so I could chat with Ricky. So you know what? I think I'm going to go with Justin Thomas.
Ooh.
I think, again, somebody kind of keep it light, rib a little bit, not taking the evening too seriously. I'll go JT, and then circling back. So now I'm looking over to the hibachi table to my left, and a couple guys eyeing us up. You know, we've had some drinks, we're making some loud noises, all kinds of stuff, and now I need some backup. So I'm taking John Rahm because the guys next to us are sizing us up. Again, I'm a short king. Me and Brian Harmon are going to get behind John Rahm and let him handle business.
I also think Rahm, it would be a very intriguing dinner guest. He's like thoughtful.
Yeah.
He's also funny. Doesn't take himself too seriously like Rory. I think Rahm is a good pick.
See, I think Cantlay and Xander, especially Cantlay, would be interesting because he's a smart dude.
But Go ahead, it's your pick. You can take this.
But I'm not going to take him. I'm not going to take Cantlay. I think this is a very underrated player. This is a player that I do think would be a lot of fun to hang out with. And that is Wyndham Clark. I'm going to take Wyndham Clark here.
Yeah. I think Wyndham would be good because the hottest girls that worked at the hibachi restaurant or maybe were visiting would be wanting to come to your table to see Wyndham Clark. I think you'd be a lady magnet. You know, so they'd at least be over there for him. So do I have 1 pick left or 2? What are we? I think I have 1. Huh?
You started.
Yeah.
No, because I still have
I
one.
Have
so you
I have Fleetwood, Straka, Diane Donald, Fred Couples.
You took Freddie as your second one.
Yeah,
coming back from the snake.
Okay.
Because I've got 6, so we're in round 6, coming back from the snake.
So I have 2 more.
You got 2, Pat 1 more, me 1 more.
Dude, I actually think I think well, no, maybe I would get him later.
You don't have. Oh, well, you have 2 picks in a row. So.
Oh yeah, I did have 2 picks in a row. Never mind. All right.
Yeah, that'll be it.
I guess I feel like Bobby Mack is probably pretty funny. Like he's a Scot. I love Scotland. We could at least talk about that. I mean, did we meet anybody in Scotland that wasn't a great time, Pat? No. And Bobby Mack's probably right up there. So I think I would probably take Bobby Mack to round out a lot of good humor, a lot of good, conversation. And then I'm probably just going to take, I'm taking Matt Fitzpatrick's girlfriend.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me. All right.
Don't know her name. She's not his wife, but she'll probably be there. So I'll just take her with the final pick.
You know who I'm going to take? I'm going to take Colin Morikawa. Just like a solid dude. I think he'll be interesting. Kind of fun.
This is a terrible draft for you, by the way. Does Colin have?
What's wrong with Cal?
What's wrong with Cal? Is he bringing his dog? Does it have to come with his dog?
Have you not seen Cal's wife?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Did you not see Cal's Netflix episode?
I don't care about. I didn't see that, by the way, but no.
You didn't? You haven't watched Full Swing?
No. I don't watch a whole lot of
TV. We did that
TV.
in like February. Okay, anyway, Tony, go.
All right, wrapping us up here. Just because everyone else has a boner for him, I feel like I need to. I'll wrap it up with Ludwig Aberg. Just throw him on. I would just talk golf with him. Apparently, he has the most beautiful swings and Sam Snead. So I'll just talk golf with him. Pick his brain.
Pure power too. Strong jawline out of him too. He would probably contend with Lady Magnet for the Wyndham Clark draw there. All right.
We're going to have to figure out a way to judge these teams during the Ryder Cup, like based off of what they do.
We need to,
like maybe Allison Stoke like makes an appearance or something. I don't
know.
how
much camera time they get, how much thirst trapping they're doing in front of the camera.
Yeah. How many peanut butter sandwiches did Freddie bring to the rest of the group?
How many Uncrustables he passed out? I think honestly, sneaky for most female camera time could be Diane Donald as the captain's wife in the hosting country.
I mean, you don't think Jenna's going to get some?
Oh, she's going to thirst her way in it, but she's also a live wife, dude. She's a live wife. She'll be. They'll be cutting her off. That was a good time. We'll also have we need to do a graphic or something, and we'll have listeners vote on who they think is the strongest hibachi table. Let's take a break. We got Alex Caruso coming, obviously. So let's take a break. See what we do with Alex, and we'll be back to wrap it up.
Deutsch here, live at the Scott Fish Bowl 13 New York City Draft at Tito Murphy's. The first round of the Shake Shack division is underway. If you could believe it, team number 1, you're going to love this, Mike Lipchenko selects Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Miami Dolphins in the 101. An unbelievable, surprising pick here in the 4th spot. From the game day, Scott the King Engel. How does he start his draft? Not with a Seattle Seahawk, but the Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen will lead Scott Engel's team. He's right here. King, what do you think about Josh Allen to start your team?
I didn't think he was actually going to fall to me. The Tua Tagovailoa pick was off the board. Mike said he was going to pivot, so it was just a matter of who's going to fall to me. I just always think about, okay, who's the top guy on my board, who's going to fall to me. But having Josh Allen at 4 proves that every draft has a different flow and you never know what's going to happen.
Bobby Cable's here. Tell us about the Scott Fish Bowl charity personally touched your family.
So basically, when I joined the military, when you get called up, you don't necessarily get money right away. It takes 30 days for any money to hit your account. And what I'm telling you is that if it wasn't for people like Scott Fish Bowl and Toys for Tots, my family wouldn't have had a Christmas. So stuff like this, I'll Hulk smash somebody for, because without it, my family would legitimately not have a Christmas because of it.
Scott Fish Bowl and fancycares.org, of course, break the whole. Amazing job for everybody to come out here. And look what we've given ourselves here. A whole Saturday at a New York City bar to ourselves. No family, no job. Some of us working. But really, fantasy football party here with the best people in New York City together. So congratulations to everybody.
Making you money in daily fantasy sports and golf betting. Tour Junkies on Better Sports Network.
Oh my God, we finally made it. It's finally here. Football is back, baby. The Chiefs and the Lions kick things off on Thursday night. And if you've not already signed up for Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription, then what the hell are you doing? You've waited long enough. If you want to dominate your league all year long, Fantasy Alarm is a must-have. Start your free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the Fantasy Football Draft Guide and Cheat Sheet for free. So head over to fantasyalarm.com/draft, and we are going to be talking all things fantasy football here with the Tour Junkies off course. Okay? Tour Junkies off course. Because listen, it's the fall. Do people really care about hearing about the Ryder Cup again? Probably not, but we are going to talk about it. Actually, we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
We're probably going to talk about it again next week or the week after. So, but we're here for fantasy football. We've got a special guest this segment, Pat. I'm excited about. This guy's been cooking up Twitter. I mean, dude, have you seen his Twitter game, Pat? If you had half of his Twitter talent, we would be such a bigger thing.
Yeah, I don't even have close. I mean, he's a beast when it comes to Twitter.
He is a beast on Twitter. He will just suck you in with these little nuggets.
Yeah,
you know,
I can't ever not read it.
I know he types out the best little teasers. You're like, God, give it to me, man.
And then it's like, wait, I may have read this earlier, but I'm going to read it again.
Yeah. Oh, I've got to know which one of these guys I cannot have because, I'll lose my league or whatever he's doing. He's just doing a great job. He's crushing it in the fantasy football world, in the props world. We're going to talk to him about that. We're going to compare our own fantasy teams with him. And I'm also excited to say he is going to be contributing a little bit in the Tour Junkies Discord this season. He's already in there. He's already dropping a couple little nuggies in there for the Tour Junkies Discord. So, we're gonna hopefully turn him into a full-on Nut Hut certified addict before it's all over. But everyone, welcome in our guest this segment, talking about all things football, Mr. Alex Caruso. What up, dude?
Oh man, I appreciate you guys having talk some ball. We got 2 days now until the season starts. This is absolute prime time. Appreciate the compliments about the Twitter game. We still got ways to go. I think I probably just have a little too much time on my hands as far as Twitter goes. But either way, season is just over 48 hours away, and I don't think I can contain my excitement anymore.
Yeah, and I guess we need to start here because now the show's airing here Tuesday night, but some breaking news has just gone down, and it's obviously going to affect Thursday night's game. What's happened today, Alex?
Yeah, so we have gotten news that Travis Kelce has hyperextended his knee. A good friend of mine, Dr. Deepak Chona, tweeted out that these type of knee injuries that we've seen, and we don't have a lot of information right now, players usually miss about 2 weeks. So it seems like unlikely that Travis Kelce is going to be playing for this week, but odds are that he's probably going to be back pretty quickly, hopefully on the shorter side, as Travis Kelce's missed just 3 games in 9 seasons. But, anytime your arguably first-round pick, sprains their knee right before week 1 starts, that is the worst news you can get as a fantasy football manager.
I've got to imagine that anybody who drafted Kelce in the first round did not draft another tight end for a long time or didn't draft one at all. I mean, so your team is really hurting right off the bat, right?
Yeah, my teams are hurting. I have Travis Kelce in 3 teams so far. I didn't draft another tight end on any one of them. My benches are a little thinner, so I don't have a backup option. If he doesn't play, I am completely screwed for week 1. And again, like this year, after his last year posting one of the greatest tight end seasons of all time, he became a first-round pick for the first time. I mean, people were drafting him as high as like 4th or 5th overall. So that is absolutely not good when you drafted him because he never gets hurt. And now he is already hurt and week 1 hasn't even started.
Who would be on the waiver wire? Like if you're looking right now, you're listening to us right now. Like, who's out there that you think you're looking at grabbing?
I think the number one guy that people should be going for is got to be the most boring person of all time, but is going to be really productive in week 1 is Tyler Higbee for the Rams. Seems like all signs are pointing to Cooper Kupp, another first-round pick, being out for week 1. And Tyler Higbee is going to probably be the clear number 1 target on that team for the Rams. And I think that ultimately, if he's the number 1 target, he's going to be productive for fantasy football. If you can't get him, I would be looking for Gerald Everett, the tight end in the Chargers, has a really nice week 1 matchup against the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, so I can't imagine Tyler Higbee not being owned because I almost drafted Tyler Higbee as my main guy, but I did reach on another tight end a little bit earlier in TJ Hawkinson. I loved him after he got broke off and paid. I mean, with Kansas City though, like all season, and Alex, you know this about us. We're so deep into the golf scene into late August that we're cramming for our drafts, and we're hitting you up and reading all your tweets. Reading all your guides and all that stuff that's all free, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But all season long, I've been like, who is Patrick Mahomes throwing to not named Travis Kelce? Who's it going to be? And now if he doesn't have Travis Kelce for a week or two, who is it going to be? Is it going to be fake Travis Kelce, that other big white guy they have that plays tight end? What's his name? Is he still there? The one that always would catch the one ball and you'd be like, yes. And they'd be like, no, wrong guy.
Well, funny, I actually have a personal connection to him. Their backup tight end, Noah Gray. I went to high school with his brother, and Noah Gray is like 2 years older than I am, and he was an absolute stud. So I don't think he'd be a viable fantasy option. I would not be looking to him. The main beneficiary of this is probably Sky Moore. He was their 2nd-round draft pick this year. There was big expectations. He didn't live up to him. But because he came from a smaller school, it sounded like last year he had a little bit more trouble with the playbook, and he's been very in tune with it this year. Patrick Mahomes has been hyping him up nonstop all offseason. He's going to be playing the slot role. So those short area targets that he's going to rack up, especially against the Lions, I think Sky Moore would probably be the play for me.
Sky Moore is going to be the guy, huh? All right. Well, I mean, any other, I guess for the Thursday night game, I always want the Thursday night action, because, I mean, obviously Sunday is going to be chock full of goodies, but, let's say you're sitting at home and you don't have any Chiefs players on your roster. You don't have any Lions players on your roster, but you just still want a little bit of action. Are there any props? Have you started diving in any of that, or any bets or anything that you're interested in for Thursday night if people just want to dip their toe in for that first big night?
Well, people better be dipping their toe in for the first night. As far as things like right now on Prize Picks and Parlay Play, they offer a Patrick Mahomes over half a total yard props that kind of get people in before week one. I mean, those are free money to take. The prop that I just put in my newsletter that I think that people should be taking is Amon-Ra St. Brown over 6.5 receptions. He's hit that in 6 out of his last 9 games. The Chiefs last year gave up the 5th most receptions to the wide receiver position. And, Jared Goff targeted Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 2nd highest rate of any player in the NFL last year, behind only Tyreek Hill. So I think this is a perfect matchup for him to go it over, especially when before Travis Kelce, this was one of 2 games that had over a 50-point total. So there's going to be a lot of points scored. I definitely want some action in this game.
Okay, I'm going to work on that prop right now while we're doing this. Let's stay on the prop side of things. So this is one of the things I love. I mean, because I love my home league. Pat's home, is in my league, my main league, and he's got his main season-long league. We love those. Those are fun. But I really enjoy, Prize Picks, Parlay Play, Underdog stuff. And you recently you sent out your email to everybody, your NFL season-long player prop betting guide. And there was a number of them on there that I tailed. I went ahead and did a bunch of them. But there was a couple that I was like, oh, okay, I might need I just might need a little encouragement to take that one. You know what I mean? So I need a little extra selling here.
Okay.
I know that Derrick Henry is getting old. Okay.
Yeah.
And which sounds crazy to even say. But the under 1175 rushing yards this is for NFL season long props, by the way. I don't know if I said that, but season long rushing yards, Underdog and Prize Picks have him at 1,175 rushing yards. Talk to me about the under on that Derrick Henry play.
Well, when you hear Derrick Henry and like 1,200 rushing yards, your immediate thought is just smashing the over.
Right.
But I went back just to try to look at a little bit of history, just seeing like where running backs perform at his age. I mean, because Derrick Henry is going to be heading into his 8th year this year, which is not great for a running back. He led the NFL in carries with 349 last year. And there's only been 7 running backs ever to hit that many carries in their 7th season or later. And of those guys that hit that many carries at that age, only one of those 7 ended up breaking like 1,175 rush yards the following year. And it was Tiki Barber all the way back in 2006, which was 17 years ago. The other thing I want to just note on that is like 7 running backs have ever hit that carry number. Those are all really phenomenal running backs that people would never normally be betting against. But history kind of says that when those running backs have that much wear and tear at this age, it usually just does not go as well for them the following year. And the year that Tiki Barber did that was his 2nd to last season in the NFL. It was not good for him after that year.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I have to ask though about one of your plays of the year, because DB I know is big on this guy. I am huge on Deontay Johnson this year. I've got him in DB's league. I've got him in my home league. I feel like it's the stupidest thing ever that he didn't catch a single touchdown pass last year. As a matter of fact, I've already put in a touchdown bet on him for this week, because I think karma just says he gets a touchdown this week. But your thoughts on Deontay, because I know you like him a lot too.
Yeah, I cannot get enough of Deontay just as far as a fantasy football perspective goes to start. I mean, he's one of 3 players to have 140 or more targets each of the last 3 years. The only guys to do that are Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs with Deontay. Like, that is a crazy class to be a part of. And that 140 number might not mean a lot to people, but like hitting that number 3 straight years is important because if you look back since 2000, 96% of wide receivers to hit that number finish as a top 24 wide receiver in fantasy. 75% of those guys finish top 12. And Deontay's done that for 3 straight years. So yes, like, people don't like Kenny Pickett. Yes, he didn't catch a touchdown last year, but he saw 40% of the Steelers' end zone targets last year and still didn't catch a touchdown. So that it's just regression for like the end zone targets that he's getting is going to hit. I think the fact that he keeps commanding targets every year is going to hit. And even on this preseason, he was targeted on like 29% of his routes. I mean, he's just as open as, 7-Eleven on a Friday night, man.
All right, I'm going to hit you with another one that you're kind of fading. Now, I will say this. In these season-long props, I definitely love unders because then you get the possible, injury situation that goes your way. You get the possible, the guy got caught gambling and he gets kicked out of the league or whatever. You get all that good stuff for you that goes for you in the unders. But this is another one that I was like, oh God, Alex, this is a tough one. Josh Jacobs under 1,075 rush yards for the season. Didn't he have like 1,700 rush yards or something last year, right?
Yeah, he did have that many.
Huh?
Yeah, it's just like a matter of the same thing we talked about Derrick Henry, where like it's just not good for running backs that see a lot of touches the previous year. I know that sounds like nuts, but like Josh Jacobs led the NFL in touches last year. And of the last 10 players to lead the NFL in touches, only one of them had more than 1,075 rushing yards the following season. He also, just like Derrick Henry, was one of those 6 running backs over the last decade to hit 340 or more carries. And of those 6 other players to do it, only one of them surpassed 1,075 rushing yards the following year. Like, I know that's not science. I don't have medical data to back it up. All I can do is look at past history and other really great running backs that got a lot of touches, and it seems like the wear and tear on the bodies from a previous season seem to carry over into the next year, and that's why running backs aren't hit it. There were some guys that were close, but again, like these are all elite running backs that have hit these numbers, and if that low of a percentage are hitting the over the following year, I think I'm just gonna lean towards history as much as that, it looks juicy on the other side of it.
Yeah. And maybe Pat has another one. I have one more, but while we're on the Raiders, does the passing attack of the Raiders, in your mind, does it get an upgrade? Does it get a downgrade? Is it kind of the same with Jimmy G instead of Derek Carr and no Darren Waller?
I think it's similar, but different. Like, so I think that they could be efficient, but I don't think that like Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the worst deep ball passers in the NFL over the last couple of years, where I think it's going to hurt someone like Devontae Adams from a fantasy perspective, where I know that both Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers were ranked as like top 5 deep ball throwers, according to like all the advanced metrics over the last few years, where Jimmy Garoppolo was ranked like outside the top 50. I mean, there's only 32 starting quarterbacks, and he was just as bad as it gets. So like, as far as being a dink and dunk offense, like I think they might be okay. But as far as like you want this team to be really explosive and put up a lot of numbers, you're probably not going to get that same like boom productions, but you might get a little bit more consistency as far as week to week and what their offense will look like.
Now, we talked about Travis Kelce, but another big name tight end is obviously George Kittle, one of your season-long props, and this is the last one I'll throw out there, Pat, unless you have another one. And I took this one. I tailed you on this one. You have George Kittle under 2 100-yard-plus receiving games. That one's on Underdog and Prize Picks for the season. Talk to me a little bit about your thought process behind that George Kittle play.
Yeah, well, this one was like a tough one because you kind of had to get weird with this one. But the attractive part about this prop was the fact that it was an under 2 100-yard receiving games exactly, which I love taking those props because usually it just means I'm either going to push or I'm going to win. So I can't lose on it because George Kittle would need 3 100-yard receiving games in one season, and he hasn't done that in about 3 years. So beyond that, like after Christian McCaffrey joined the team last year, George Kittle's receiving yards per game went down by 20%.
Yeah.
And of his last 7 100-yard receiving games, 5 of those 7, he had at least 10 double-digit targets. And he never hit 10-plus targets in a single game with Christian McCaffrey because of what he demands in the passing game. So like when you look at that, I mean, his last season, of multiple 100-yard receiving games without hitting those 10-plus targets was in 2019. DB, that was a long time ago. He's just not as efficient as he used to be, and he needs insane volume, and Christian McCaffrey takes away from that insane volume. So that's a long-winded way of saying that, like, George Kittle is not going to be the same player that gets the volume to be able to hit that 3 over. At worst, he pushes, in my mind.
That's why I wanted to ask you through that one, because I think, George Kittle feels like this name, and he's this presence, and he's got that name value. And then when you look at what he did when CMC showed up, and obviously CMC demands his targets, and a lot of them possibly in similar parts of the field, I think that one made a lot of sense. I jumped. I think I put that one in multiple on multiple slips. So hopefully that one hits. Pat, you got any more?
No, I don't. I think that's a good one. I agree. I think it's a little bit of a sucker play when you just look at it on the surface, but then when you dive deeper into it, like you've done, it really makes sense to take the under there.
All right, let's talk about our own fantasy teams. Okay, now, Alex, Pat was prefacing you a little bit here. This is my home draft. And now normally when we do this, in years past, we have tweeted the draft board and just let people have it, or let people go at it. This year is the first year we haven't, because last year my league went into total chaos. And
it did.
We had this one rogue jackass friend of mine who just started the trend of, let me tank my team, trade away my picks to store up draft picks for the next year. And there was no rule in place over this. So he did it, and like 2 other guys did it, which I'm telling everyone, don't let your league do this, okay? And all it takes is one guy to figure out that that's what he wants to do, and then other people start copycatting it. And then what happens is you have a problem like you had this year in our draft, where people had traded so many picks. We had 2 guys in our league that had 8 picks in the first 4 or 5 rounds. Wow. We had a couple guys in our league that had like a pick round 1 and 2 and didn't pick again till like round 7. It was just total chaos. It was confusing to figure out. It was bad. So we made a rule change that now you can only trade 1 draft pick per season. We do like the trading draft pick angle. It can present something interesting, but so we knew that if we put up our draft board, people would have just thought we were all idiots because of where stickers had to go, and it was just confusing. So all that aside, I want to show our teams how they ended up. I was drafting out of the 7 position. Pat, where were you?
I think I was in the 9th position.
Pat's in the 9th. This is a 12-team league, full PPR. We start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex running back, receiver, tight end. No kickers because we're smart, and a defense. Oh, look at Tony doing it right.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, I was in the 9th.
So Pat was in the 9th. Pat, who was your keeper? You didn't have a keeper, did you?
I did not have a keeper, and I also did not have a 2nd round and a 4th round pick. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this.
And I had Tony Pollard was my keeper I got to keep him in the 5th round. So just give us your first thoughts, first just analysis of the teams here.
Well, I mean, just to be brutally honest, I like DB's team a little better. Yeah. It seems like you have a little more depth to your team, and you have a little possibility that if somebody gets hurt, like, you're going to be okay, and you're not going to be completely screwed. Like, I love the stack that you had at the beginning with Jalen Hurts and Stephon Diggs. But I think the highlight with Pat's team is obviously Bijan Robinson. But after that, there's no one that really holds down the anchor. And that's the best thing about having those 2nd round picks. I'm always just trying to find an anchor. So I have a Batman and Robin on every team that I have at least 2 guys to kind of build my foundation around. And I love Bijan. He's probably my favorite value in the 1st round right now for where he's going. But not having that 2nd round pick hurts you. But I love the Christian Watson upside and just kind of shooting for the moon. So I think that Pat's 1 injury away from having some trouble. Obviously, missing those picks definitely makes a difference. But DB, your team's pretty intimidating. If you can survive. Yeah, I think that your team has a lot of really good. Both you guys have better benches than I would have expected. I really like some of the depth that you guys added kind of at the end of the bench and the potential for some big upside.
It's how it works, right? The fantasy gods give and take away. I had already dead set decided I was taking Travis Kelce with the 7th overall pick if he made it to me, and he went pick 6. And so then I knew I wanted a receiver with our 3 wide receiver flex thing, so I went Steph Diggs. And then coming back, I started thinking, because these 2 guys that had all these damn picks, The only thing I could think about was like, well, if I and I normally wouldn't, I would normally like load up on receiver or something, but it's like if I can at least give myself some positional advantages at the tight end and quarterback spot against those kind of guys, the guys that have all those picks, then are going to have stud super teams. Then maybe that helps. Maybe that helps me get there, right? I was just thinking about how do I beat the guys with 8 picks in the first 5 rounds, and so I went Jalen Hurts because Mahomes had been kept, and I think Allen may have gone before me. So I went with Jalen Hurts. I came back around. I fell in love with TJ Hawkinson because of that big deal he got. Do you think I should have waited on Hawkinson, like not taken Hawkinson and gone a different direction, or do you think the Hawkinson love is somewhat warranted there? And my strategy of if I'm going to beat these 2 super teams, let me do that and figure the rest of it out later.
I think that as far as like, if you're looking at a normal fantasy football draft and taking TJ Hawkinson in that range, maybe not something that I'd be doing. But like when you're talking about that, you're trying to find a way to beat the guys that you're trying to beat. I think that was the perfect way to play it. It doesn't really matter like who TJ Hawkinson is. It's really just the point that you're taking the next best tight end that gives you that positional advantage over those other people, because that's the only way you're going to win, is being able to have 2 massive positional advantages and all that extra leverage over them. Because there's going to be way more running backs and receivers that you can fill in week to week on a waiver wire. But especially when you play in these like smaller 10-team or less type leagues, like quarterback and tight end are everything. So the thinking is perfect. And Hawkinson was definitely by far the best tight end probably left that you could have taken. So I think the thinking there is genius as far as if you're going to have a shot against those, the pick monsters, like that's definitely it.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about a pick here Pat made, because this one got pretty controversial at the draft. He picked one tight end, and he picked a rookie tight end, getting a lot of hype. What are your thoughts on Dalton Kincaid?
Oh man, he scares me a little bit. There was just a report that came out from The Athletic today that said like the Bills absolutely love Dalton Kincaid, but they don't see him like on the field like as much as like was initially projected at the beginning. It said he's going to use a lot more in those 2 tight end sets. And the other thing that I'm so sorry, Pat, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Maybe you can find a Tyler Higbee on the waiver wire. But like since 2000, of all 450 rookie tight ends, only 5 of them ever finished top 12 in fantasy points per game as rookies. It just doesn't happen often. I know that Kincaid's in the perfect situation to do it, but if they're already saying he's not on the field, plus the history of rookie tight ends, it definitely scares me. But the upside is there, especially considering you were missing picks. It's definitely
go. My thought process when, it's really weird not having a 2nd and a 4th round pick. And, this isn't my first rodeo. I've done this for probably 20 years. So it was a little bit off. I tried to go with just a bunch of upside guys. That's why I had Christian Watson in there. That's why, like Higbee, I think has upside. All the receivers I took, Deontay, everybody, I was just trying to go with upside. Now, I did send Tony my actual home league draft, which was a more traditional draft, and I think my team would have a totally different view of how that one looks.
Yeah, but I'm not in that
because league, so. But I do care. So I would like to know, because I started off with that when I had the 11th pick, and I started with Saquon.
Great pick.
Then I got Tyreek Hill on the turn.
Oh.
This is a 12-team league. Garrett Wilson is my keeper, who was in the 10th round. The first mistake I may have made was Travis Etienne in the 3rd round, and then Justin Fields in the 4th round. But that team to me is a little bit more representative of what a pretty good draft looks like.
That's it. So. You got Saquon Barkley at pick 11, and you got Tyreek Hill has gone top 5 in like every high stakes league I've played in, and you got him at like 13 or 14.
We had a quarterback run of 3 quarterbacks in the 1st round, and I took advantage.
Must be nice to play in a league with that many idiots. You know what I mean, Alex? I would love
everybody's done it for about 20 years now. I would love to
get invited into that league.
Well, it's also good to have a league that doesn't have people that destroy it the year before with a bunch of trades and stuff like that. So,
I mean, but Pat, why are you so defensive about this?
I mean, if you're gonna throw it up there, you gotta let me defend myself. So
I can see Pat getting flustered. Oh dear. All right, Alex, we're gonna let you go. Before I let you go, let me ask you this: there's a lot of big rookie wide receiver conversation. Okay, Addison, you got Flowers, you got Quentin Johnston, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Probably there's more I'm forgetting. Can you kind of rank where you see these guys? Obviously, I know they're rookies. Who knows what's going to happen? A lot of it depends on opportunity. But in terms of fantasy value or overall upside, how would you rank those guys? Because I feel like they're tough to rank. I don't know which one. I wanted them, but I didn't know which one I wanted to get first.
Yeah, so I would rank them as follows. There's really five. Those four and Marvin Mims are kind of like my top five as far as rookie receivers go. Number one for me has got to be Jordan Addison. He's taking the Adam Thielen role, second most routes run in the NFL last year, fifth in red zone targets. Like, if he can perform early, like, he's going to see it. TJ Hawkinson's never been like a massive like target share guy. Lots of opportunity for Jordan Addison. My number two guy would be Jackson Smith and Jigba. He might miss the first week or two with that wrist injury. But man, oh man, people forget that he outproduced Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave when he was younger than them at their final season together in Ohio State. I think that he is going to be a super stud in the NFL for a long time. He'd probably be my second guy. My third guy, just kind of chasing upside, would be Marvin Mims, because the Broncos only kept 4 wide receivers on their active roster after roster cuts. Is Brandon Johnston, who I don't think he's even going to play. Jerry Jeudy, who's probably going to miss the first couple weeks. And then after that, the only guys left are Cortland Sutton and Marvin Mims. So Marvin Mims could end up leading this team in fantasy points if Jerry Jeudy misses time. My next wide receiver 4 would probably be Quentin Johnston. I really believe in this Chargers offense and what they're going to do. Keenan Allen missed half the year last year. He's over 30. So if he missed any time, Quentin Johnston immediately becomes a big fantasy option. And then you have Zay Flowers and the Ravens that could lead that team in targets. One last thing I'll say on that, every single one of those 5 wide receivers is a great pick at value in fantasy this year. They all got awesome landing spots with awesome quarterbacks and are in awesome situations. And I think that people get a little too afraid of them because they're rookies. But if you could get any of those 5, I wouldn't be surprised if 4 out of those 5 end up popping this year.
If you think to the opportunities and what's going to happen, are there any that you see who's most likely to have like a kind of a slow start or maybe an iffy start? Maybe the guy that drafted him in your league or whatever, holding on to him, is kind of irritated it hadn't popped off yet. And they're a possible trade target for, a third way through the season or halfway through the season. Which one of those you feel like could have that situation kind of be the most likely?
The perfect guy for that is probably Quentin Johnston. Again, like, he's that guy for me that, like, right now I might not be drafting him as much, but he's like a prime like waiver target for me or a trade target after the first few weeks. Because like I mentioned, like, Keenan Allen did miss over half the season last year. And like, he's playing the CeeDee Lamb role with the old Cowboys offensive coordinator now joining their team. So if something happened to Keenan Allen, it's probably Quentin Johnston that takes over that middle of the field role. Mike Williams has always been more of a field stretcher, deep ball kind of guy. And Quentin Johnston would immediately take over that role if either of those guys missed any time this year. And I think that he's someone on a high-powered offense, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, with a team that is going to play a lot faster than it has in years past, maybe go for even more pass attempts. I think Quentin Johnston's like the perfect target for that.
Love it. Alex, thank you, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for contributing here on the Better Sports Network show, as well as in the Tour Junkies Discord. Tell the people where they can get your stuff, your Twitter handle, all your content. Pitch it.
Yeah, the main place you can find me, obviously on Twitter at Alex Caruso, or TikTok or Instagram at Alex Caruso NFL, posting, YouTube or shorts as well, just different short content, as well as the Twitter, any fantasy information I can find. But on my pinned tweet or in my link in any of my social bios is my newsletter, player prop newsletter, the biggest player props, all the data backed up in your inbox for every single NFL game for this year. Don't forget to tune in. But guys, I really appreciate you having me. I love listening to you guys. You guys are the best. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, dude. We appreciate you. We will. This will not be the last time we have you on this season either.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Alex. Oh God, Alex Caruso is fantastic. The Hibachi Ryder Cup draft was fantastic. We're good at this. We just are. So come back next week on the Better Sports Network. Tour Junkies Golf Show. We'll be previewing the Fortinet Championship, the first event of the fall swing. And have a great week 1. See ya.